As Matthew Arnold said in his poem, Study of Poetry, that the future of poetry is immense because in poetry, where it is worthy of its high destinies, our race, as time goes on, will find an even surer and surer stay. Further, he says that more and more mankind will discover that we have to turn to poetry to interpret life for us, to console us, and to sustain us. With that thought in mind, here is Ahmedabad University Literary Club presenting a session on Milestone in verse performance, poetry and discussion. For this, I would like to call upon stage Anoushka Chakraborty, Preet Panchal, Shruti Munot, Pravit Shetty, Charvi Thakkar and Riya Manyar. Finally, I would like to request Adya Singh and Shreya Venkatesh to grace the stage and take upon moderation.
It's okay. You want to start? I'll just start. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for attending this event. Before we start, I'd like to mention that this is going to be a slightly different format, wherein the audience is also welcome to interact with us. This is a more interactive session. Everyone that is on the stage will interact within each other, but we would like to request the audience to also interact with us and make this a more enjoyable event for everyone.
So, we are bringing to you poetry written by our very own club members, Anoushka Chakraborty, Pravit Shetty, Preet Panchal, Riya Manyar, Shruti Daima, and Charvi Thakkar. And we are your hosts for today, Adya Singh and Shreya Venkatesh.
We would like to thank Ahmedabad International Literary Fest for allowing us or giving us this opportunity to bring our pieces to the stage and giving us this opportunity to show our own creative, imaginative, and our own perspectives of the world as of right now. I'll start. To begin with, we would like to call upon Shruti to recite her poem and to also give us a bit of an insight as to where this poetic piece came from.
Firstly, I would like to thank AILF for organizing this event. And my poetry is titled as The World That I Want to Live In. So I wrote this poem with several questions, stories, and context in mind. The prime question being about my contribution, that what is it that I want to contribute? What is it that I want to create? What is it that I want to build? Whatever work that I'll be doing has to contribute towards building the world that I want to live in. And for that, I need to know the ideal world that I want to live in the first place. With that in mind, I visualized the world I want to live in and expressed all that I could envision in the form of poetry. That is the closest accurate form of expression to express the inexpressible. So I would request you all to join me to envision the kind of world that we all would want to live in, not just me. The world I want to live in is a world where you feel welcomed by Mother Earth and its lively creators, where the sun, the stars, the breeze, the birds, the animals, the humans, they seek out your presence and you seek theirs, where you see coexistence in all beings, like the subtle coexistence in Mother Nature, where human well-being comes without opportunity costs, the opportunity costs of heavy imbalances, the heavy imbalances in all its forms and figures, where utmost peace is in people's way of being and sheer sweetness in their way of life, where your action is driven by proaction, and For each action, you get valid reaction. Where work regards joy in definition, and even repetition in that context brings reignition. Where people live for each other in utter delight, and the intent is to make everything bright. Where honey flows in words and sight. Where you are you in spite of the labels you carry. Where you are you in spite of who you marry. Where you are few to choose the place to dine, just like I chose to imagine this world of mine. Thank you.
That was a very delightful poem, Shruti. I think that is definitely a more idealistic world that we all wish to live in, where the conflicts that occur in day-to-day life are non-existent because of how we dictate ourselves towards each other. I would like to pose a very simple question to the audience and to our panelists here. What do you think this development is? This development, this human development in terms of how we conduct ourselves to each other. What should it look like? You guys can start. Anyone can answer. Even the poet themselves can answer.
So the kind of, am I audible? Yeah. So the kind of development that we measure in economic terms, we measure it in terms of GDP, right? But is it really development? The question I want to ask to all of you. Do we include the social aspects of development? Do we include the human aspects of development when we measure it in economic terms, that is, in terms of GDP? Anyone can answer.
Yes, please.
Anyone has a mic?
Somebody.
No, I guess.
Wait.
जी मैं अपनी बात हिंदी में रखना चाहूँगा। एक्चुअली जो डेवलपमेंट जो आपने वर्ड बोला डेवलपमेंट दो तरह का है, एक तो मटेरियलिस्टिक डेवलपमेंट और एक ह्यूमन कॉन्शियसनेस, है ना। ह्यूमन कॉन्शियस के लेवल पे तो हम काफ़ी डेवलप हो चुके हैं, मतलब गुफा से जो जंगली आदि मानव था वहाँ से अभी तो काफ़ी डेवलप हुए हैं। लेकिन जो मटेरियलिस्टिक वर्ड है उसमें टेक्निकल हम डेवलप हुए, लेकिन जो ह्यूमन इंटरेक्शन और जो टेक्नोलॉजी है वो सेकंड नंबर पे रहे और ह्यूमन सेटिस्फाइड हो सके। मतलब जो अल्टीमेट हमारा गोल है कि हम हैप्पी रहे, तो सारे लोग हैप्पी नहीं हो सकते अभी, इसके बहुत सारे रूट कॉजेज है। मतलब ये काफ़ी लंबा विषय है। मेरा एक दिल्ली में ट्रस्ट है और उसमें हमने इंडिया का 2035 का मॉडल बनाया है। तो उसमें कैसी इकोनॉमिक्स सिस्टम होगी, कैसा एजुकेशन होगा, पॉलिटिकल मॉडल कैसा रहेगा, वो सारा हमने एक्सप्लेन किया हुआ है, आप उसको पढ़ सकते हो। लेकिन बस ये है कि अभी जो डेवलपमेंट हम देख रहे हैं वो उस तरह का नहीं है कि जिसमें प्रकृति को हम पोषण दें, बल्कि अभी शोषण हो रहा है। तो प्रकृति के लेवल पे जो आपने बोला कि एक बच्चा पैदा हुआ तो मैं हूँ यहाँ पे, और ये सारा जगत है जो हमें इनवाइट करता है, और जीरो कॉस्ट, मतलब वहाँ पे प्रकृति कुछ ले नहीं रही है हमसे एक तरह से, लेकिन हम अभी सब कुछ शोषण कर रहे हैं। ये ना हो वो हो सकता है। तो जो रूट कॉजेज है वो सारे अगर प्रॉपरली समझ के हटा दिए जाए तो ये हैप्पीनेस है वो सब में आ सकती है। जो 90% लोग अभी दुखी है, जो कि सिस्टम के अंदर अटैच नहीं हो पा रहे, मतलब अपनी बाजार में मांग भी नहीं कर पा रहा है, एक अच्छी लाइफ नहीं जी पा रहा है, वो भी जो है वो नेचुरल रिदम में आ सकते हैं। ये डेवलपमेंट हो सकता है और यही डेवलपमेंट है, रियल डेवलपमेंट।
It's absolutely true.
Shruti, it was a really, I really loved the poem. In fact, the first line gave me goosebumps. And what I found beautiful is, even though it's your vision for the world you want to live in, there's no I in the poem. It starts with you. And I found that very striking and beautiful. And I wonder whether that was a conscious decision on your part to not start with I.
So, although it has I in it, but then that I does not come from an ego point of view. It comes from a point of view where I represents everyone, and I represents the entire humanity, and how we want to, what is the world that we want to live in. It's not I as from an ego perspective.
Thank you.
Now, looking at the world that Shruti described in her beautiful poem, I would like to pose a question to everyone present here. How practical do you think is the world that we just saw? Anyone?
So how practical, as in how practical is it in terms of fulfilling our own desires? So as Sir rightfully mentioned, but anything else that you would like to add on in the current answers that we have so far?
Hi Shruti, congratulations on your lovely poem.
Thank you so much.
Really enjoyed hearing it. So I just wanted to add this about the fact that you've mentioned about whom you can marry and so on and so forth. Our society is still ridden by caste discrimination, racial problems. I mean, India is a fairly racist country within our own states and our own peoples. So I would imagine that the vision can be seen as a fairly utopian one, but that doesn't take away from the beauty of it. So yeah, just wanted to add that. Yeah. Can I pass this mic clearly?
Am I audible? Okay. Our next poet is Riya, and I'd like to welcome her to recite her poem.
Since unfortunately Riya doesn't seem to be here, I will be reading out the poem. So her poem is titled Little Musings and Satisfaction in Life. You can consider it an extension of Shruti's poem. And it's also, as a subset, Happiness is Here. The heavy drizzle drenched my head as I walked to my house ahead. I had a bath, I had the warmth of tea. Then I saw the street becoming a veritable sea. Occupied myself with the hymn of the rain, pondering, happiness, is it just in the brain? Suddenly something caught my attention. Some laughing, giggling, free of tension. I looked out at the miniature sea, got visitors in waves which weren't dirt-free. They were carefree, innocent little swimmers who didn't have any bungalows and cars to be happy. They were enjoying the poor luxury none of us in which could be happy. They found contentment even in their miniature sea.
So, the poem brings to mind rich versus poor. Are we truly dissimilar despite the differences in income? Or do we want the same things in life? Any of the panelists are open to answer, even the audience?
Can you please repeat the question?
Yes.
Yeah, so the poem mentioned a bit about rich. There's a bit of a context between the rich versus poor, wherein those kids that you see on the streets, sometimes they're laughing, they're playing within each other, between each other. And they look happy even when it's raining, even when they don't have, for example, umbrellas. So in that context, what, if not money, brings happiness? In the sense that, is it really income that differentiates us, or do we all require the same things to be happy?
अभी का जो इकोनॉमिक्स मॉडल है उसमें तो ऐसा है कि बाजार के अंदर कुछ भी मांग करनी हो तो पैसा चाहिए, है ना। और हम इसके कुछ लॉज है डिमांड एंड सप्लाई के, अगर किसी ने इकोनॉमिक्स को अंडरस्टैंड किया हो तो, कि 10% लोग ही इसमें सर्वाइव हो सकते हैं, 90% लोग मांग ही नहीं कर सकते, मतलब उस लेवल की नहीं कर सकते, बाकी ऐसे नॉर्मली चल रही सबकी लाइफ। तो पैसा तो जो है वो एक सिर्फ एक विनिमय के लिए, एक्सचेंज के लिए एक ऑप्शन है, और पैसा इटसेल्फ संपत्ति भी है, एसेट भी है, कि आप बैंक में रख दोगे 1 करोड़ रुपये तो 1 साल के बाद में 7% एडिशनल इंटरेस्ट आ जाएगा, तो वो संपत्ति भी है। तो अभी जो आपने बोला, तो विनिमय के रूप में जो है वो पैसों की ज़रूरत नहीं है एक्चुअली। अगर हम रियल सेटिस्फेक्शन लाइफ में चाहे तो हमें मटेरियल की ज़रूरत है, और कॉन्शियसनेस है हमारी, उसका जुड़ाव की ज़रूरत है। मतलब हमारी जो हैप्पीनेस है वो 2 चीज़ों के ऊपर डिपेंड करती है, मैटर पे जो मटेरियल बना है, और एक चेतन जो कॉन्शियस है। मतलब आपका मैचिंग किसी से हो रहा है तो आप संबंधों का सुख ले सकेंगे, विचारों का सुख ले सकेंगे, भावनाओं, आत्मिक सुख आप ले सकेंगे। इसके लिए ह्यूमन ही चाहिए, तो उसमें पैसे की ज़रूरत नहीं है। लेकिन जो मटेरियल है उसके लिए पैसे की ज़रूरत अभी है। अगर ऐसा इकोनॉमिकल मॉडल हो जाए कि जैसे जो समानता देता हो, जैसे बाइक है तो उसमें इंजन सिर्फ अकेला इंपॉर्टेंस नहीं है, ब्रेक भी चाहिए, स्टैंड भी चाहिए, सीट भी चाहिए, एवरीथिंग इज़ इम्पोर्टेंट। तो ये ह्यूमन सोसाइटी जो है उसमें एक मजदूर भी चाहिए, किसान भी चाहिए, इंजीनियर भी चाहिए। हम एक को भी नहीं छोड़ सकते। जैसे एक्टिवा में एक चीज़ को हम नहीं छोड़ सकते। जो आपने बोला कि पैसे की ज़रूरत नहीं है, तो हाँ बिल्कुल नहीं है। और ये हम लोगों ने जो मॉडल बनाया है वो बिना पैसे का है, डोंट वरी। उसमें 100% रोजगार रहेगा, मतलब 4 आवर सबको काम करना है, सिस्टम सब कुछ देगी, जो लाइक उस तरह का है। तो थैंक यू।
Thank you.
I just want to add in some different words that money is a man-made model. Like, we have made money. We used to go with the barter system in early times, and then we came with this system. So definitely there is a human aspect of it that, you know, we need something beyond money to make us happy. It's not just about, you know, the monetary exchange.
Yes. Yes, please. Go ahead.
थैंक यू। सबसे ज़्यादा इम्पोर्टेंट चीज़ जीने के लिए क्या है? सांसें। 1 मिनट से भी ज़्यादा कोई जिंदा नहीं रह सकता सांस रोक के, वो फ्री है। नंबर 2, पानी। 1 दिन से ज़्यादा कोई जिंदा नहीं रह सकता बिना पानी के, ऑलमोस्ट फ्री है। नंबर 3, सनलाइट, वो भी फ्री है। फूड डिपेंड्स अपॉन आवर इनकम। तो बेसिक नीड्स है वो ऑलमोस्ट फ्री है। और उसके बाद हमें हमारी लिमिट सेट करने की होती है कि क्या, किस लेवल पे हमें सेटिस्फैक्शन, हैप्पीनेस एंड कंटेंटमेंट मिलेगा। कुमार विश्वास ने बहुत अच्छा किया है, बहुत अच्छा कहा है कि हर एक बौना मेरे वजूद को नापता है यहाँ। कई बार आपको भी लगता होगा कि मैं टैलेंटेड हूँ, सोसाइटी में मुझे स्थान नहीं मिला है, मुझे अच्छे मार्क्स नहीं मिले हैं, मैं बहुत कुछ कर सकता हूँ। हर एक बौना मेरे वजूद को नापता है यहाँ। सारे शहर से उलझो मेरे इलाही क्या, वक्त के एक तमाचे की देर है प्यारे, फिर मेरी फ़कीरी क्या, तेरी बादशाही क्या। थैंक यू। तो वक्त, काल, कालस्य न प्रिय कश्चिन, काल को न कोई प्रिय होता है न अप्रिय होता है, वो अपने हिसाब से चलता रहता है। टाइम हैज़ कैपेसिटी टू चेंज अ कोल इनटू डायमंड। थैंक यू।
If I
That
may
was very-
add a few words.
Yeah, go ahead.
So that's very true that all of these elements, 5 elements, they are absolutely free. But if we look at, you know, the air aspect of it, and we look at the air quality of places like Delhi, right, where it is because of us, air quality is becoming bad, right? So now, if you look at from now to, let's say, 50 years from now, if we don't do anything about it, it won't be possible for us to even breathe. So even that will require a cost. And yeah.
Thank you so much. This was all very new perspectives that are added into what has already been said within the poem. I'd like to call upon Preet for her own poem, and that is titled Self-Exploration.
So hello everyone. I would like to thank Ahmedabad Literature International Festival for giving me this opportunity. So my poem is titled She. So
I'm really sorry for the interruption. There is a car with a number plate GJ27CM6129. आप में से किसी की है? It is blocking the passage for another car and they need to leave immediately. I repeat, GJ27CM6129. He has gone? Okay, thank you so much.
Yes, so I wrote this poem from a third person point of view, referring to myself. It helped me understand myself better and what my thoughts are and what development in my thoughts that I was seeing. So there is contrasting thoughts that I was having. I was feeling down on myself, but there was this optimistic part of me who was seeing the light and the development that was there in me. So yes, she is just a simple girl, yet she is messed up in her own world. Humming to every song's word, she is happy in that all. A ray of sunshine can light her day, bring her everything that messed in her way. She doesn't have the perfect face, but her glimmer can make you feel embraced. They say she's fragile, but oh, she's a storm inside. She just doesn't know this yet. Tangled by the knots of thoughts, she'll try to unravel herself, cautiously taking every step. But with not everything in her control, she'll try to accept every fall. Still, hope will always be something that will be her way. Simple yet beautiful in her own way. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the beautiful poem. So this brings the question, is it harder for someone to meet societal expectations, or is it harder for someone to meet their own expectations which they impose on themselves? Our panelists?
I feel like most of our own expectations are built by what society expects from us. So once we make a clear distinction between what society would like from us and what we want ourselves to be in our truest, rawest forms, then it would be really easy to develop from there.
Okay, thank you so much for your reply.
So this is a general question, and as the audience on a whole and we have various differences in the years that we've lived here. So to the audience, do you think that age influences the way you explore yourself? And if so, how different is it as you move from a child to a young adult, to an adult, to your middle ages, and finally to the old age? Anyone in the audience can, if you'd like.
एक उर्दू के जाने माने शायर है, उन्होंने उम्र के बारे में बहुत अच्छा कहा है. एज मीन्स उम्र, वक्त का तकाजा, बचपन, जवानी, बुढ़ापा. कि मेरे सफ़ेद बाल हुए हैं, सफ़ेद खून नहीं. बूढ़े लोगों का हौसला बढ़ाता है ये शेर कि बाल ही सफ़ेद हुए हैं, खून तो वही गर्मजोशी वाला है. और एक बहुत अच्छा किसी का शेर है कि उम्रे दराज से मांग के लाए थे दिन चार, दो आरज़ू में कट गए दो इंतज़ार में. each and every stage of life has its own beauty. How we conceive it, how we match with it, that's important. That's what I believe. Thank you.
Firstly, Preet, it was a really amazing poem by you. And to answer the question, I think here we are present with almost all the ages are present here, and we hear different perspectives of all ages. And according to me, not age, but your mental abilities is something which helps you to gain the consciousness, because as you have seen, many aged people too learn to be with the youth, because youth is something which has new ideas, which has the courage to learn more, to implement and to experiment. But at the same time, people with age have experience, and which is really necessary. For example, Ratan Tata, he's a great example of how age and youth, like both mixed together and form like a biggest organization in India as well as in the world.
जो आपने बोला है कि किसी को मतलब एक कैपिंग लिमिट पे ग्रो होना है, वहाँ तक मैच्योरिटी में पहुँचना है, तो उसमें एज कितना मायने रखता है? क्लियर है? अच्छा सवाल है। एक्चुअली क्या है कि जैसे ये जो पूरी दुनिया है वो बायोडाइवर्सिटी से बनी है। जैसे हम देखते हैं कि नीम का एक पेड़ भी है, तुलसी का पौधा भी है, एक छोटा सा औषधि का भी छोटा सा पौधा होता है। तो इस तरह से ह्यूमन के अंदर भी एक बायोडाइवर्सिटी है। जैसे हम एक एग्जांपल से मैं इसको क्लियर करूंगा। जैसे एक इंजीनियर है, उसको एक मकान डिज़ाइन करना है, तो वो एक दिन के अंदर उसकी साइकोलॉजिकल जो एरिया है उसमें वो उसकी डिज़ाइन करेगा और वो पेपर वर्क कर देगा। लेकिन अगर वही मकान को हमें धरातल पे लाना है तो 10 लेबर को कम से कम 100 दिन लगते हैं, तब जाके वो मकान बनता है। तो क्योंकि हम एक फिज़िकल वर्ल्ड में हैं और साइकोलॉजी प्रोसेस भी चल रही है, इमोशनल सेंटर्स भी हमारे वर्क कर रहे हैं, सोल भी हमारी प्रोसेस कर रही है, तो ये सारे एक रेशियो में है कि जैसे प्रकृति में भी एक एक इंजीनियर पैदा होगा तो सामने 500-600 वो मजदूर पैदा करेगी, तभी ही ये प्रोसेस चल सकती है। प्रकृति में ऐसा हो नहीं सकता कि वो 100 इंजीनियर पैदा करेगी और एक मजदूर पैदा करेगी, दैट इज़ नॉट पॉसिबल, है ना। सो अगर उस दृष्टि से देखा जाए तो जैसे एक्टिवा में एक चाबी है, उसका जो साइज़ होगा इससे ज़्यादा साइज सीट का होगा, क्योंकि दोनों के अलग अलग यूज़ है। तो ये जो मैच्योरिटी लेवल है वो डिफरेंट चीज़ है। वो एज को इस तरह से काम करती है कि जैसे जो फिजिकल लेवल का पर्सन होगा, मजदूर होगा, किसान होगा, वो जो भाई है हमारे, वो 15-16 साल में उनकी साइकोलॉजिकल प्रोसेस लगभग बंद हो जाती है। वो कुछ ग्रहण नहीं करेंगे, अगर टीचर कितना भी उसको डांटेंगे तब भी वो डेवलप नहीं होंगे, क्योंकि उनका फ्रेम है वो फिजिकल वर्ल्ड में अपनी एक्टिविटी करना है और उसमें उनकी हैप्पीनेस है। तो अगर हैप्पीनेस के लेवल पे देखा जाए तो मैच्योरिटी सब अपने आप पकड़ लेते हैं। जैसे अगर कोई आम का पेड़ हो तो उसको 15-20 मीटर ऊंचा होना है तो वो तभी होगा, मतलब जो पहुंच जाएगा तो वो मैच्योर है, उसके लिए 10 साल लग सकते हैं। अगर जो आप जिस तरह से चिंतन कर रहे हो तो आप एक साइकोलॉजिकल प्रोसेस में हो, एक चेतनात्मक टाइप के पर्सन हो, खोजी हो, क्रिएटिव भी हो आप, तो इस तरह के लोगों को डेवलप होने में बहुत सारे साल लगते हैं, क्योंकि उनको बहुत सारा एरिया कवर अप करना होता है, बहुत सारे विषयों को जानना होता है। ये जो जानने की प्रक्रिया है, समझने की प्रक्रिया है, इसमें से कुछ अर्क निकालने की प्रक्रिया है, इसमें मैच्योरिटी आने में काफ़ी टाइम लगता है। कुछ का बेसिक डीएनए ऐसा होता है, या कहो प्रकृति में कुछ ऐसे पर्सन प्रकृति खुद पैदा करती है कि जो इस तरह के खोजी होते हैं, वो बहुत छोटे होते हैं तब से वो कलेक्ट करना शुरू कर देते हैं क्विक। लेकिन बस ये सुपीरियरिटी कॉम्प्लेक्स और इन्फीरियरिटी कॉम्प्लेक्स के मामले के कारण क्या हो रखा है कि कोई चित्रकार बनना चाहता है लेकिन डॉक्टर बन के बैठा हुआ है किसी को है वो किसान बनना है और वो इंजीनियर जाके बन के बैठा हुआ है। तो ये जो हमारा आई जो है, जो हमारा सेंटर है कि हम क्या चाहते हैं, हम नेचुरली कैसे बने हुए हैं, ये अपने आप को जानना, ये फर्स्ट पॉइंट है। और वो जानने के बाद में वो मैच्योरिटी अपने आप पकड़ लेगा, इसके लिए एज मायने नहीं रखती है। थैंक यू।
So, just alluding to Preet's poem, when we say that age determines what we have to explore, again, it's a way of saying ki, because our understanding of that whole concept is basically what the society expects from us. So rather than that, I would say, what if we view ourselves as like a free-flowing body of water, you know? Because we achieve when we want to achieve. It depends a lot on our personal achievements and all. So I would just like to say ki, again, saying ki age determines what you explore is a way of constricting our personal development. So yeah.
So regarding how you explore yourself differently with different ages, I think it's also about finding joy. You explore yourself to find those experiences, and as you grow older, when you're younger, you find pleasure in simpler things, you find joy in simpler things, and as you grow older, you keep exploring yourself more, and I think by the time you're, I think in your middle ages, you properly know yourself. So I think that's how it happens.
If time permits, may I? Okay, so this might sound a little silly. I'm just a 19-year-old and I'm probably speaking from my own experiences. And maybe the student in me was trying to connect Preet's poem with Ria's poem. So the idea of happiness in age, it's just a thought, maybe wrong, but something like when you were younger, it's almost like you know what happiness is. And then comes a point where you question what is happiness to me. And then comes a realization, like in Preet's poem, that, oh, this is happiness to me. And I was just trying to connect that to literature and human development. The idea of how a concept such as happiness itself develops, its meaning develops for you. And that idea of knowing, but then questioning and figuring its answer for yourself, like an experience. Just a thought.
Thank you very much for all your responses, both from our panels and our audience. I'd like to call upon Charvi for her poem titled Suitcase.
Good evening, everyone. It's wonderful to have you here today. So, homesickness was something that I anticipated before joining college, but I didn't realize that it would take so long to get over that feeling. People expect you to put on a brave face while neglecting the fact that it isn't easy to adjust to a new soil after being uprooted from another. So here's a little piece in which you can hopefully find some respite. There stood my suitcase in the corner of my room that was about to be abandoned, ready to be transported to a place so distant. I'm surprised at how much it could hold, despite my attempts to fit in an entire abode. The morning I was leaving, I was tossed into a whirlwind of heartache so overwhelming. A heart that had never ached as bad as this heartache. A heartache more painful than the time a boy made it ache. That heartache, pain, pang still hasn't left the nerves of this body. And there I was, at the university center, which would somehow become the epicenter of my homesickness. I know people say that humans can be homes, but I don't think I can ever find another human that could substitute the warmth of my mother. Her sense-rousing food, pain-absorbing hugs, gossip sessions over coffee. I might find the same coffee beans, but where will I ever find the same barista? As the moment my body entered the hostel room, my soul left the building. As I unpacked my little suitcase, I rummaged through it for comfort, but I couldn't find any. I held a bunch of Polaroids, but the moment seemed to slip through my fingers. And there stood my suitcase in the corner of a room I would never call mine.
That was a very wonderful, and I think everyone in the audience in some way can relate to the heartache of home, no matter what home is. And that brings to my next question. What is home? What defines a home? Is it a person? Is it a place? Is it a feeling? So what is home?
was a lovely, lovely poem, and I think all of us can, in some way, can resonate to it. Home is not just like, you cannot define home in just one sentence or expression. It is where we make memories. It could be a place, it could be people, it could be a collection of both of these things. It could be many things. I personally remember when, 6 to 7 years back, I used to live in another place and we transitioned from there to Ahmedabad. And, everything just changed. There's change in the kind of people I used to deal with, the kind of understanding that they used to have of the world. It was so different. The kind of food, the kind of water that we intake was also different. The climate was very different. And and all of this happened with, all of the past that I came with, along with all of these changes, was very difficult to deal with. So I can absolutely resonate to how challenging it can be to, change your idea of home, what was before and what can be in the future.
I would like to add to that point. Exactly. I was going to speak something on that lines. I am a localite, which means I haven't even moved from my home. But there's still that feeling of comfort that I define with being home. For example, when I was at school, it still felt comfortable in a way. I cannot even describe it fully, but it just made sense. And then I shifted to college, and I still live at the same place, like my actual home. But then there's this feeling that everything is off, and it's not the same as it used to be, and I think it's a bit disorienting. Like, I joined EU 4 months back, and it's just the feeling of disorientation is just starting to go away. And now I can come back to being comfortable. I think that contributes to what a home is.
In fact, even I can add something to it. So I am from the south, and Hindi is not popularly spoken there. So the sound of a language can also be associated with home, the very subtle changes in pronunciation of how people speak, whether it be English, Hindi, Gujarati, Telugu, Kannada, any of those languages. When you move, you don't realize it before. You associate new place, new location, new food. You don't associate language sometimes. I haven't heard people associating language with moving. So when I moved from the south to study here, this sound of a language became very disorienting for me. I couldn't understand a few bits and pieces, and even to an extent I couldn't associate what people were saying to what the situation was. And that became very disorienting. So in a way, I feel like even the sound of how people speak, the language, all that contributes to my own definition of home that I didn't realize until I moved here.
Yeah, thank you for this. I actually can really relate to what you just said with language. My name is Niklas Wagner from Germany, and I would say that Ahmedabad at the moment is my home, but language is really making me feel home as well, and this is why, and yeah, there are these words which are not really easily translatable, and there's one in German which is called Heimat, and Heimat is referring to a region or a place which is called home, and it's really more geographical. For me, I think home is related to people, having a daily routine, and Heimat is where I can speak the language, where I like the mountains, where I feel really bound to, and I feel like that this is why language is really closely related to this conception, and I feel like as well making this distinction between this geographical region and maybe a house or people is helping us to think about what is home. Thank you.
Next, I'd like to call upon Anoushka Chakraborty to recite her poem.
Hello, everyone. Firstly, I would really like to thank AILF for this opportunity. And the title of my poem is Hope and Humanity. And it's all about how, despite all the atrocities that our race, our humankind is facing right now, we should never let the hope in our hearts die. I trace the slithering drops of rain, my fingers against the window, lifeless it swayed. The incessant screeching and honking of cars blurred out any possible thought that stayed. And yet, in this endless cacophony of unharmonious urban parade, a flickering flame of conviction danced away. The rustling papers rough with dust, brazen with hopeless affairs amok, hospitals bombed, infants shot at birth, their shrieks for help die away as the bloodbath cascades, which the morning news in a frenzy evades. I have heard songs of kindness, empathy, and compassion. Are they just lures, myths that decayed? Like a ticking grenade, did time in vengeance take away every ounce of benevolence our hearts had made? Humanity is but a glass house, ready to take but refusing to give, all a one-sided trade. Is this regression, or is there even a little bit of hope that escapes the calloused hands of the monstrosity that mankind creates? Contempt grows, but conviction refuses to be dismayed. In a gentle way, you can shake the world, I heard a wise one say. The sun ablaze, it beams the same. The clouds don't part on lines of political crusade. Nature loves, nature doesn't differentiate. This earth bears witness to our roots tied in one supreme ancestral braid. The heart beats to one rhythm. We all bleed the same. Howling tires impede my cerebral agony, and now I look back at the raindrop adorning the shade. It becomes heavier as it connects with drops on its way. Soon, my vision clears as the showers fade. I put my thoughts to rest, an effortful glance it takes to see. A young boy feeds the neighborhood battered dog. A woman guides a blind man across the road. I smile to myself. The flickering flame of conviction danced away. Even in this endless cacophony of unharmonious urban parade, hope will undoubtedly pervade. Thank you.
So, due to paucity of time, sadly there are no more questions, but we do have another poet today, Pravit, Shetty. Please welcome.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for this opportunity. So the piece I prepared is called Phantom Polaroids, and I started writing it as a poem, but then I felt that I needed a rawer format to put all my thoughts in. So it ended up not even a poem, not even a prose, it's just a collection of my thoughts. I wrote it in a rather turbulent time when I was transitioning from high school to college. So I'll just present it. Take a Polaroid in your hands. Look at it. Inhale the colors. Feel the inks mix and blur to produce structure and to capture a moment in time, perfectly ordinary, and preserve it forever. It's like a snow globe that holds winter throughout the year. It's perpetual preservation. Though the picture ends at the frames, you know the world that it depicts and shows does not. It extends beyond the frames, although it is lost in the depths of time. A Polaroid is a souvenir. It's nostalgia printed and handheld. So is memory a Polaroid? Your mind archives snapshots from your life. Think about now, this exact moment at a random winter's day. A long, long, long time from today, you won't remember the conversations you had. You won't remember the brisk winter aroma. You won't remember the cold breeze on your face. You won't remember the contritions of yesterday or the worries of tomorrow. You won't even remember the you that you are right now. You won't remember the good things or the bad things. You'll only remember what you saw. You'll remember the warm colors of the sky. You'll remember the smiles of the people you were with. You will remember the books kept open on your lap. You will remember the cups of tea slurped in good spirits. And all of it will be blurred by a reminiscence of that long lost moment. And you will hold on to it like a treasured souvenir. You will look back at it, you will smile and feel at peace. You are limited by the frames of memory, but you are unbound by the freedom of nostalgia. A phantom Polaroid, cherished till eternity. Thank you.
So thank you everyone for being here today. I hope we were able to make you chuckle and maybe tear up. I would really like to thank our budding poets for bringing up their pieces to share with us today.
Most importantly, we would like to thank Professor Pallavi Narayan for supporting us and for letting us approach this podium to let us give our own. Yeah. We would like to also thank Professor Marian Chako, our club mentor, for giving us this opportunity. Thank you very much, everyone in the audience and our panelists.
Thank you, the young poets of Ahmedabad University Literary Club. Now I would like to request Uma Shankar sir to give the mementos and Dr. Pallavi Narayan to give the mementos.
Yes, please come.
Shreya has already